and welcome to the New Property Show. I'm Steve McMenamin. On this show,
Kerry reminds us of interior design, Joanne finding and handling off-market sites, our panel on more about sustainability. But first, Anthony on financial planning. Where do you want to be in the next 5 years?
Anthony, welcome to the New Property Show.
Thanks for having me.
We were just discussing before, typically on this show, we go through residential finance, we go through residential property, but now we're playing a bigger game.
Yep.
Commercial finance lending,
Yep.
Asset protection, structures. Do you want to just explain to, I guess, our viewers and, of course, myself, what is that you do?
Yeah, so I mainly deal with self-employed people and companies. So I look at their current structure and where they want to be in the next 5, maybe 10 years, and what they're currently doing to what they need to do moving forward, and provide them with the financial products that they need to get to that next level.
Okay, so client comes to you, they're typically going to have a business.
Yep.
So is that a services business traditionally, or have they got a stand-up product business where it's a warehouse? So what's the mix there?
So it purely depends. Look, I see business as numbers. So depending on it, like industry, I'm massive in the fitness space. So I deal with a lot of fitness businesses, anywhere from your small, 1 owner to, 10 to 50 owners, 50 locations. So that's my specialty, but that's you can call that service-based business, but also manufacturing, logistics. So yeah, industry is one thing.
I think when the two go hand in hand, when you purchase the warehouse,
Yep.
and then you lease the space, is probably the perfect storm.
Yep.
And really because you've got the income coming from the members,
Yep.
which will facilitate, which pays off the real estate,
Correct.
which is almost like a McDonald's franchise. Sue the Maccas of Essendon.
Yes. Yeah.
How did you get into commercial finance?
Yeah. So my background, I've been a financial planner in different banks and also in ANZ. I was in commercial as well. Then moved out to an accounting firm. So each place I've gone to, I've sort of taken on board all the other departments and understood what every part of the financial journey looks like for a client, and taken it in my own business and really gone forward with that. So that's where I bring those skills and skill set to clients.
So you've actually applied some of your own principles.
Yep.
Created some wealth. You've done some deals.
Yep.
Obviously big into fitness, so you understand the client quite well.
Yep.
How does a client come to you? How do you typically pick up a new client?
Yeah, so it's mainly word of mouth. Social media, that's another key part as well, because as soon as word of mouth will come, they'll go, okay, what does this guy look like? What does he do? And yeah, I do a lot on social media. But yeah, I'd probably say I'm very aggressive with lenders. If I do have a client, I've got to sell the client to the lender, and it's well known that I do that.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
So you love a bit of banter, you love a bit of hustle, a few emails, relationship management.
Definitely.
I think and this is, correct me if I'm wrong here, but the key to doing it's the art of the deal. So it seems like you like putting deals together.
Yep.
But you've got to wine and dine these guys a little bit. So you've got to build relationships, and you've got to make sure that your deal goes to the top of the queue and gets across the line. So some creative accounting, that sort of stuff as well, but the numbers. But where are people making mistakes? Where's the cash flow slipping? What can they do to improve their cash flow?
I think there's a couple of things. So you've got to have a good team that's, good accountant, good bookkeeper. I spoke it recently on my social media, and obviously good staff. But what I find with the financials, if you don't have the right financial advisors around you, so accountants and bookkeepers and finance broker, you can really fall over, because tax debt is one massive thing that needs to be sorted out. And when we're going to the lender, I want to make sure that you are what the lender wants. So I don't mould you into the lender, I lend the moulder into yourself. So when I go to them, I'll make sure that everything's done before going to them. You're essentially selling the client to the lender to say, hey, they want to do X, Y, Z. Will you support?
Okay. And what about, have a few clients surprised you before, where you've made an assessment and you've gone, well, let's look at the positives, but someone's come in, you've dealt with them.
Yep.
You think they've got they think they've got a fitness gym.
Yep.
And they just blow you out of the water. They're asset backed, they've got structures.
Yeah.
What does a complex client look like? What's a good one?
So multiple different entities, big turnover. That's a good client.
Yeah.
Some surprises that come into fruition, whether something's happened in the past with tax debt, mainly tax debt, that's the biggest thing. As soon as a lender sees that, they want to maybe expense it over 12 months or just completely not deal with the client anymore.
They need to go typically into a payment plan or something.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah. So, sometimes either payment plan or that's part of a settlement condition. So we want the tax debt paid off. But I'll go back to your point about surprises. There's always surprises. I'm a bit old school. I'll go out to see the client. I want to see their setup, whether it's no matter what industry, like manufacturing, gym. As you probably can tell, I love the gym. So every fitness business I go to, I actually like looking at the fitness centre itself, and just speak to them, whether it's interstate. It doesn't faze me. So.
Okay. So you've flown all the way to Perth before. You've done Queensland, done Sydney.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about somebody that's transitioning? So we've just got one more question there. But say you're a young upstart. You've gone from PAYG.
Yep.
You're almost 2 years into your business.
Yep.
You want to make some money. Okay. Should they be buying a franchise, or would you suggest they buy the building?
Oh, that's a good question. Franchise gives you the ability with all the support network systems, processes to help you excel yourself. Although you've got to make sure the franchise agreement is pristine, because franchise can take turnover, percentage of turnover, or they just charge a flat fee. Buying a property, if they're working, look, both can complement each other. I've had franchisees that have bought the business or bought the property that they're currently in. Perfect, ideal scenario. They can control the rent, control the cash flow, control the tax.
Cash flow is so important, but I'd almost say though, it's almost forced savings. So it's basically, do you do the cash flow deal, or you do the purchase, the equity deal, and it sort of flips between the two. And I guess your role there, having dealt with a few people before, would be to being able to identify what people's potential is. So one more thing there, have you taken a client that's worth, say, $5-10 million and really help them accelerate their wealth? And did that take a few years, or how long did that take?
Yeah, so there was one client I deal with in particular that currently has a few sites, probably I'd say about 8. We've reassessed the business and helped him put some facilities in place to get another 7 locations. So that took, it's been approved and currently going through the process. You'd be surprised, once you get to a certain level, trust deeds, everything gets scrutinised, so goes through vetting process, can take anywhere from 3 months. So you've got to be very mindful as to position the client to say, hey, this could take some time, but they're there every step of the way to understand the journey. So
excellent, mate. You've been a fantastic guest on the New Property Show. Look forward to exploring a bit further, and of course coming out to see you on site.
Perfect. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Hi, I'm Kerry Melbourne from Kerry Melbourne Interiors, and I have my own property styling company. Property styling is such a benefit to a buyer and a seller. When we get called to a property, people live in the property and they're living there, they're not selling it. So when someone is selling their home, we need to cater to the majority, not just the minority. So it's very important that we walk through, we make space, and so we go through and we clear out all their clutter. We can part style, we can full style, but the best benefits to selling your property is to styling a home on a full style. It's also within the furniture that we choose as well. So we work with really neutral colours, and then we bring out colour through the artwork, and we add all the cushions and the throws. And what it does is, when you're working with the right colours with that property, and then you're catering to the demographic and that property, you're actually showcasing it in the best way. So property styling is a great way to sell your property, and a great way for a buyer to see the best possible way to see that property.
Joe, welcome to the New Property Show. Great to have you down here. Come all the way from New South Wales. What do you do?
Yes, Steve, thanks for having me. What do? I teach people how to find off-market sites, how to negotiate those sites, how to lock them down with a property option, and then how to flip them for a profit to developers.
So pretty well options, what we call it in our sphere. Do you want to take me back a step? So I think education is the key to wealth anyway. So I think you've got to be around the like-minded people. You've probably been to a few seminars. What inspired you, young Joe, to actually get into this?
Yeah, young Joe, getting younger by the day. Yeah, for me, my story goes back about 20 years ago. Young guy, migrant family, all working class, and it's drilled into your head from a young age: property. So that's what I did. I did my uni, graduated, bought one, bought the second, third, fourth, buy and hold strategy. I was like, I'm not getting rich. It's not happening, So the market was a bit flat. I was negative geared. I had a good job. I was out of uni, making a good living, but I was feeling the pressure. I was married. I had my 2 kids. Just couldn't make ends meet. I thought I'd be rich. I thought, if you bought a property, paid it off, you'd be rich. That was sort of the old way, the old school way. And then I started realising there's got to be a better way. So that was about 10 years ago. So yeah, like yourself, I started going to seminars, getting educated. I was fortunate to meet a few developers in my circle who helped me out, who mentored me, and sort of inspired me, showed me there's another way. And that's when I sold everything. So, my wife at the time, we decided to sell everything. We cashed up and we got into development.
And what sort of developments did you start with?
Just small ones. So I did a 1 into 2 in regional New South Wales. That one there, made me 100,000. That was my first deal.
Good practice ones, those regional ones. It's typically a large block. Can't really go too wrong.
Yep.
As long as you're sort of familiar, you've done a little bit of the surveying work behind the scenes, you've got a cost estimate, as long as you can get sewer and gas in there.
Yep.
And then just cut it up and really just try and forecast what the market's going to be. So it's a little bit of realestate.com research. So going from there, what was your second and third deal?
Yeah, going from there, I did a duplex as well. Just very simple. For me, with my background, like with a science background from my uni days, I really wanted to find a way how I could do this and control the risk. That was very important to me. I'd worked hard as a young bloke, raising a young family, amassed some capital. I had a business as well, and when I sold everything, I had a pile of cash. I didn't want to go to the casino and put it all on red. So I just wanted to do simple things. So that land sub I did, that 1 into 2, that was an option. So I had some assurances there. The second deal I did, a duplex, I used a project builder. So again, very safe. My third deal, that's when I got a bit bigger. That was an 11-lot land sub in Sydney. Again, using property options, because I wanted to protect myself every step of the way.
So do you want to just go a little bit more depth there for those that are new to options? What does that look like? So you've put a deposit, so a low money down deal. You've put some money down. You've negotiated some terms. I guess some exit clauses, or you've got some backup. What does that part there look like?
Yeah, so what does it look like? So the traditional developers, say from the old school, they might have done it alone or got a group of people together. They'd go, like you said, to realestate.com, domain, agent. Here's a site. Do you want to buy it? Yeah, they buy it. Then they would try to develop it or do the best they could do with it. I know a lot of people in that boat, Steve, who have settled on properties and it has problems. I didn't want to be that person, so what did I do? I used a property option. So a little bit about options for the viewers. Basically, an option is an agreement. It's legal and binding, where you have a lot more flexibility in the terms. So I was fortunate enough to find some really, really good owners, lovely people, negotiated a long settlement, low money down. I was able to get my approvals in the option period, and I had a 90-day due diligence clause. So I could have 90 days to look at the site, have a pre-lodgement meeting with council, speak to town planners, just make sure I was not getting a dud, buying a lemon. So.
Okay, and then what about if you have some issues there? So sometimes you've looked at the deal, you've optioned the deal, you've decided it's good to go. It's going to cost a little bit more, but you've done the maths. What do you do then?
It's tricky. So yeah, it's tricky. Depends on the deal, of course. this is the beauty of an option deal. So there's call options, there's put and call options, which are both a bit different. With the call option that I only deal with exclusively, and the 90-day due diligence, let's say you've put a small amount of money down, you spent 90 days, you spoke to your planner, you spoke to council, you've had some surveying done and some investigations, and you say, oh, I hit rock, or I've hit asbestos. Then you do your numbers, you might say, oh, look, this deal, it doesn't work anymore. You have options. So it's not favourable, but if it was a lost cause, you just pull out. You just pull out altogether.
What about sometimes if you do the work and you go in the middle, then the other option could be you could on-sell the deal. Do you encourage your students to do deals like that? So you might as well pick up something for your time, might be 20 grand, 50 grand, but you say, hey, I've got a site, I've done this, these are some of the complications, you be honest about it, because you want to be able to do business again in the future, but almost an option on the option.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the beauty of it. It gives you multiple pathways. So, I've got 160 clients right now, Australia-wide. Depending on their strategy, their experience, their own cash position, there are different strategies you can do. So you're right. So as a property owner, when you do sign up an option agreement with someone like myself, what does that mean? It means that someone like me is coming in. We are going to start the approval process for your site. So it might cost, as you know, 20 grand, 30, 50, 80, 100 plus. We're putting all that investment in the site. Now, if something should go wrong, that property owner, they get all that investment in uplift in their site. And then, as you say, let's say for whatever reason you wanted to pull out, you couldn't develop, you can definitely assign it to another developer.
I think that's a good idea. So just want to talk about one more thing, and then we're going to explore this further on some of the panels. But for somebody that's young and is thinking about options, my key question would be, do it yourself or get a coach?
Oh, definitely get a coach.
Yeah, easy.
Easy, right?
Yeah.
You know that. My experience, 20 years in property, 10 years in development and options. I couldn't have done it without having learned from people that went before me. Even if it's just someone you just want to pick up the phone, have a quick call. Hey, what do you think of this? Have you heard of this?
Release some pressure.
Absolutely.
Discuss the deal. Look at it from a different perspective. I think it's so important. And Joe, this is why you're here. Obviously, you like creating millionaires, and something we're going to investigate a little bit further. But I think that you'd be a fantastic coach for a lot of people across Australia. They want to specialise in wealth creation and don't want to wait 20 years for the property to go up. So thank you for joining us on the New Property Show. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you, Steve.
All right, panel, welcome. Today's topic is sustainable housing. I really look at it like a car. There's 3 different types of models. There's entry level, medium, and then top of the range. What we're trying to do here is get a 20-year-old house and really just improve the efficiency on it. But now we've got to weigh up the costs. Okay.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
So what I'm thinking about as a consumer is, one, I want the comfort. So I've got to sell my partner on the fact we're going to spend some more money, but we're going to get better energy rating, we're going to get more efficiency, she's going to get some new appliances, so we're happy there, there's a win-win. But how much do we spend? And Musti, I guess this is over to you.
Yeah.
Is if you were selling this house, do you have the education know-how to convince somebody to spend an extra 20 grand more to buy this sustainable house, but long-term, it's actually going to save them?
Look, I wouldn't say I do have enough education on it now, but it does seem like it's more cost effective for them to live in terms of what they're spending, and obviously that makes it better for them in terms of what their repayments are for the property itself. The only thing that bothers me there is if you do all those works in a property and you're trying to invest the property out, does that make a difference? Do you want to spend all that money and invest it out? Does it really target an investor's market?
The other question I have is, from where you sit, does low impact housing impact the price of property in any way?
I would say it does, but the only thing is it's not a big market. So majority of the market is not concentrated on that, and it's not getting to the mainstream. So yeah.
Do you think if we had a rating at the point of sale to show how much energy the house uses, do you think that would make a difference?
I think that definitely would make a big difference. Even if it was
disclosing it in the Section 32.
Yeah, if it was in the Section 32 as well.
It's not a mandatory requirement though. That's the thing. So we don't see it.
We don't see it yet in Canberra. It's a thing. And it's been a thing for a while. And actually, if you look at their house energy ratings, they're higher than the rest of the country. It's because of that.
That's very interesting.
Canberra's got one of the best resale values for housing in Australia, so they're really leading. I guess they're starting with the government and working out as well. But I think that would be a case of that could give you an advantage if you're an agent, and the advantage you have, mate, is you're only 21.
Yeah.
So if you start learning to identify those features, so you're going to need to improve your network and hang out with people like Jerry here, so you can actually learn on that. It'd be helpful. Now over to you, Daniel. So you're in an industry where you need to price up for customers. You've got windows, you've got glazing, you're doing that, you're local expert, you've got to make the trades. But you've come into this 20-year-old house, and we've just got to breeze through this. But what is your local expert going to do about it?
Well, there's multiple things. I mean, the biggest waste of energy in any house is through the doors or any other cavity. So, or any window or door. And if you run a thermal camera across a home, you'll see that it's quite pronounced. So, the Victorian government only 2 years ago did a study on 200 commission homes down in the Gippsland area where they talk about simplistic and very cheap fixes to a home, like draft stoppers on doors, covering up vents, sealing vents, multiple little wins that they did within the commission homes, and then studied the medical requirements around that. So whilst there's the sustainability piece that's talked about here, it's often overlooked the health benefits as well. And probably undersold. There's a huge amount of health opportunity to be able to go towards a sustainable house that suddenly already, if there is an additional cost, which I actually think NCC requirements coming in, if anything, will help to actually gain good revenue and supply discounts into the market for those higher end products. But really small changes, seal up your ducts, seal the doors, those types of things are really, it might only cost you $500, but nearly 30% in medical bills were saved in commission homes just by draft stopping a house. And that study is ready and available on the Victorian government website. So you don't have to do too much to keep a lot of the temperature in. You don't have to do too much to keep it sustainable initially in a 20-year-old home. If you want to replace windows and doors, that's a very different kettle of fish. And however, it's significant impact. We've installed windows and doors into a property where instantly they don't even use their heater anymore in the middle of winter. So you can have really profound effect, but that's thousands of...
That challenges the thought though, or challenges the idea of engaging a builder and potentially paying a bit more to build a sustainable home from scratch when you've got those stats out there.
Again, they're ready and available.
Readily and available, confirming that you don't have to spend much to make your existing home more sustainable, or if you're out in the market buying an existing home, to make it more sustainable.
Correct.
And I think the most important way that this conversation is aired and shared would be the fact that we're having these discussions here. As I said, we're sitting here with 4 different types of people coming together. I understand that your mission alone, with working alongside builders, is only going to touch 10% of the market. But if we've got the agent that wants to start now talking about sustainable housing, and I challenge you to talk about that, is bring it into your everyday conversation. Yourself, when you're talking about when you're doing conveyancing soliciting, is just talking about these are some of the things I've noticed. It may not be compulsory, but you may say if you've got a 7-star home, you need to push that in your Section 32, or at least highlight it to the agents, and obviously you guys have the conversation. And when you're now looking at housing and you're talking about local expert, say there's option A, option B. Option A, we're going to give you insulation overload, and we're going to go through here, we're going to do this. But if you'd like to have the local expert plus version, for an extra $1,000, we can go through that. So I personally believe through the conversation, creating larger networks, that we can be in that mission. Now, am I buying biodegradable cups when I'm drinking coffee? Different discussion. But I do think if your home is where the heart is and living under the roof there, if you're doing good for the planet, and I think that's the thing that we need to all be in agreement of, is what happens 50 years from now for our kids and their grandkids, etc. If we have a bigger vision, I think that the power of this show and what we're doing can make a great impact. So, guys, I want to thank you for being on this panel. Interesting subject. Certainly heaps to talk about. We could obviously unpack this a little bit further, but you've been great guests. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
That's all for this week, and thank you for joining us. If you want to see the full interviews, check out our website, thenewpropertyshow.tv, and we'll see you again next week.